6 Harsh Truths About Women Every Man Learns Too Late Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." But when it comes to relationships, most of us learn this wisdom the hard way. Today, we're diving deep into 6 profound truths about human relationships that ancient, Stoic philosophers understood. Truths that can transform how you approach love, partnership, and personal growth. Whether you're single, dating, or in a long-term relationship, these insights will challenge everything you think you know about connection and compatibility. Stick around because truth number 4 will completely shift your perspective on what it means to truly know someone. The ancient Stoics believed that wisdom comes through experience and reflection. They understood that our expectations about others often create our greatest sufferings, and nowhere is this more evident than in our closest relationships. Before we dive in, I want to be clear. These aren't harsh truths meant to breed cynicism. They're liberating realizations that, when understood correctly, can lead to deeper, more authentic connections. The Stoics taught us that true strength comes from understanding reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. So let's explore these 6 truths that can revolutionize your approach to relationships. Truth 1. People change, and that's natural. The first truth is perhaps the most fundamental. People evolve, and expecting them to remain static is the root of countless relationship conflicts. Heraclitus, a pre-Socratic philosopher who influenced Stoic thought, famously said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." The same applies to the people we love. The person you met 2 years ago isn't exactly the same person sitting across from you today. Think about your own journey. Your interests, values, and priorities have shifted over time. You've learned new things, had experiences that changed your perspective, faced challenges that shaped your character. Why would we expect our partners to be any different? The Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together." Notice he doesn't say, "Love the people exactly as they were when you met them." The liberation. When you truly accept that change is natural and inevitable, you stop trying to freeze your relationship in amber. Instead, you become curious about who your partner is becoming. You start asking better questions. How are you growing? What are you discovering about yourself? How can we evolve together? This doesn't mean accepting negative changes or abandoning your standards. It means distinguishing between healthy growth and concerning shifts. A Stoic learns to influence what they can control, their own actions and responses, while accepting what they cannot control, another person's natural evolution. Practical application. Schedule regular check-ins with your partner about goals and values. Celebrate growth rather than mourning the old version of someone. Ask yourself, am I trying to love a memory or a living person? But here's where it gets interesting. Truth 2. Emotional independence is attractive. The second truth challenges everything popular. Culture teaches about romance. Emotional independence, not neediness, creates magnetic attraction. Epictetus taught that no one can hurt you without your permission. This applies powerfully to relationships. When you derive your self-worth entirely from your partner's approval, you create an exhausting dynamic that benefits no one. The myth of completing each other. We've been sold this romantic notion that we're incomplete until we find our other half. But the Stoics understood something deeper. Whole people attract whole people. When you're emotionally centered and self-sufficient, you become incredibly attractive. Not because you're unavailable, but because you're choosing to be with someone rather than needing to be with them. Consider the difference between these statements. "I can't live without you" versus "I choose to build a life with you." "You make me happy" versus "I'm happy and I love sharing that with you." "I need you" versus "I value what we create together." The Stoic framework. Seneca wrote, "The person who depends on luck is ruled by luck." The same applies to depending entirely on another person for your emotional state. You become ruled by their moods, their decisions, their availability. Why this creates attraction. Think about the people you're most drawn to. They probably have their own interests, opinions, and emotional stability. They're not constantly seeking validation or reassurance. They bring something valuable to the table because they've cultivated value within themselves. Common misconceptions. This doesn't mean being cold, distant, or uncommitted. Emotional independence means having your own sources of fulfillment, maintaining friendships and interests outside the relationship, being able to self-soothe during difficult times, not taking your partner's moods personally, contributing to the relationship from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Practical steps. Develop hobbies that genuinely interest you. Maintain meaningful friendships. Practice meditation or self-reflection. Learn to enjoy your own company. Build a life you'd be proud of even if you were single. This emotional independence becomes especially crucial when we face our third truth. Truth. 3. Compatibility runs deeper than chemistry. The Stoics were pragmatists. They understood that feelings, while powerful, are temporary and changeable. Seneca observed that the mind that is anxious about future misfortunes is miserable. Similarly, a relationship built solely on emotional highs is destined for misfortune when those highs inevitably fade. The chemistry trap. Initial attraction creates powerful biochemical responses, dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine. This cocktail makes us feel like we've found the one. But neuroscience shows us that this intensity naturally decreases over 18 to 24 months. What remains determines the relationship's future. What the Stoics valued. Shared values. How do you each define a meaningful life? Communication styles. Do you resolve conflicts constructively? Life goals. Are you heading in compatible directions? Character. How does each person handle stress, disappointment, and responsibility? Intellectual compatibility. Can you engage in meaningful conversations? Imagine two scenarios. Scenario A, intense chemistry, passionate connection, but fundamentally different views on money, family, career ambitions, and personal growth. Scenario B, good chemistry, deep respect, aligned values, similar communication styles, and compatible life visions. Which relationship do you think has better long-term prospects? The Stoic test, Marcus Aurelius, suggests we examine things stripped of the stories we tell about them. Remove the romance, the fantasy, the projection. What's actually there? Can you build a partnership with this person? Do you genuinely like them as a human being? Do you respect how they handle life's challenges? Red flags to notice. Values misalignment. Different views on honesty, commitment, family, money. Communication breakdown during stress. Disrespect for your boundaries or goals. Inability to handle conflict maturely. Different definitions of love and commitment. Green flags to cherish. Consistent character across different situations. Growth mindset and willingness to learn. Respect for your autonomy and dreams. Healthy conflict resolution skills. Aligned vision for the future. The practical approach, don't make major relationship decisions during the peak chemistry phase. Give yourself time to observe patterns. Pay attention to actions, not just words. Notice how they treat service workers, handle stress, and respond to your needs. Understanding compatibility leads us to our fourth truth, which might surprise you. Truth. 4. You can only control yourself. Here's the truth that transforms everything. You cannot change another person, and trying to do so creates suffering for everyone involved. This is perhaps the most fundamental Stoic principle applied to relationships. Epictetus taught the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our control, others are not. Your partner's thoughts, feelings, decisions, and behaviors, not within your control. The control illusion. We often enter relationships with unconscious renovation projects. They're perfect except for if they would just, once they realize. This mindset sets up both people for failure. Consider Sarah, who loves everything about Mark except his relationship with money. She spends 2 years trying to help him become more financially responsible through suggestions, articles, and increasingly frustrated conversations. The result? Mark feels criticized and controlled. Sarah feels unheard and exhausted. The Stoic approach. What if Sarah focused entirely on what she could control? Her own financial decisions, her communication style, her response to Mark's choices, and ultimately, her decision about whether this incompatibility is acceptable. What you can control. Your own actions and responses, your communication style, your boundaries and standards, your decision to stay or leave, your personal growth and development. What you cannot control. Your partner's personality traits, their family dynamics, their career choices, their emotional patterns, their readiness to change, the freedom and acceptance. When you truly internalize this truth, several things happen. 1. You stop wasting energy on futile control attempts. 2. You start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. 3. You communicate needs clearly without manipulation. 4. You make decisions based on reality, not potential. Practical implementation. Replace, if only they would, with, given that they are who they are. Focus complaints on behaviors, not character. Ask for what you need without expecting automatic compliance. Make decisions based on current reality, not future possibilities. The relationship test. Can you love this person exactly as they are today, with no changes? If the answer is no, you have 3 Stoic options. Accept this limitation in yourself, communicate your needs clearly and accept their response, or recognize incompatibility and act accordingly. This acceptance becomes especially important when we confront our 5th truth. Truth 5, actions reveal true character. Truth number 5 cuts through confusion. When words and actions don't align, always believe the actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person's worth is measured by the worth of what he values." But how do we know what someone truly values? Not by their words, but by their consistent actions, especially under pressure. The gap between intentions and reality. People can genuinely believe their own words while acting completely differently. They might say they value honesty while regularly withholding important information. They might claim to prioritize the relationship while consistently choosing other things when it matters. The Stoic lens. Stoics were interested in virtue in action, not virtue in theory. They understood that character is revealed through choices, especially difficult ones. The Stoic lens. Stoics were interested in virtue in action, not virtue in theory. They understood that character is revealed through choices, especially difficult ones. Says they're committed, consistently makes time for the relationship, claims to be trustworthy, follows through on small and large promises, values communication, engages in difficult conversations rather than avoiding them, respects you, honors your boundaries even when inconvenient, wants to grow, actually changes behaviors that cause problems. The pressure test. How does someone behave when they're stressed or overwhelmed? No one else is watching? It costs them something to do the right thing. You're not available to meet their needs? They disagree with your decisions? Why this matters. Relationships aren't built on good intentions. They're built on consistent actions that demonstrate those intentions. A person might genuinely want to be a good partner, but lack the skills, awareness, or commitment to translate that desire into reality. The Stoic response: don't get lost in analyzing motivations or making excuses for inconsistent behavior. Focus on patterns. Is there alignment between values and actions? If not, you have valuable information for making decisions. Protecting yourself. Notice when you're making excuses for someone's behavior. Pay attention to what they consistently prioritize. Trust your observations over explanations. Remember, good intentions don't negate harmful actions. The empowering shift. When you stop trying to decode mixed messages and instead observe clear patterns, decision-making becomes much simpler. You're no longer confused by contradiction. You're informed by consistency. Which brings us to our final and perhaps most important truth. Truth 6. Your standards determine your experience. The final truth is the most empowering. The quality of your relationships is directly proportional to the standards you maintain and enforce. Epictetus taught that no one can hurt you without your permission. In relationships, this translates to a powerful principle. You teach people how to treat you through what you accept. The standards paradox. Many people fear that having high standards will leave them alone. The Stoics understood the opposite. Having no standards guarantees you'll be surrounded by people who don't value you. What standards look like? Consistent respect and kindness, honest communication, even when difficult, mutual effort and investment, emotional and physical safety, shared responsibility for relationship health, growth mindset when facing challenges. The Stoic approach to boundaries. Standards aren't walls. They're guidelines for mutual flourishing. When you clearly communicate what you need for a healthy relationship and consistently maintain those boundaries, you create space for the right person to step into. The long-term view. Seneca reminds us that time discovers truth. Temporary loneliness while maintaining standards is far better than long-term suffering in relationships that diminish your well-being. Your power. You cannot control who comes into your life, but you absolutely control who remains. This is your ultimate relationship superpower. These 6 truths: accepting change, cultivating independence, valuing compatibility, focusing on control, believing actions, and maintaining standards form a framework for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. The ancient Stoics understood that wisdom often comes disguised as difficulty. By embracing these realities rather than fighting them, you position yourself for deeper, more authentic connections. What resonated most with you today? Drop a comment below and share which truth hit home. If this content added value to your life, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical philosophy. Next week, we're exploring how to apply Stoic principles to modern dating. You won't want to miss it. Remember, you can't control who enters your life, but you can control who you become and what you accept. Choose wisely. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and keep growing.